So today we are going to discuss about visual system. Visual perception, it has often been compared to the operation of the camera. Like the lens of the camera, the lens of the eye focuses an inverted image on the retina. But this analogy, it breaks down rapidly because normal camera, it does not capture what the visual system really does, which is to create a three-dimensional perception of the world that is totally different from the two-dimensional images which are projected onto the retina. The analogy also fails to reflect the wonderful cognitive function of the visual system. Like for example, imagine a friend of yours walk towards you and you perceive the friend as coming closer. You do not perceive him as growing larger, even though the image on your retina does enlarge. Another example is that if we move from a brightly lit garden into a dimly lit room, the intensity of the light reaching the retina may vary 1,000-fold. Yet in the dim light of the room, as in the bright light of the sun, we see a white t-shirt as white and red tie as red. Our ability to perceive an object's size or color as constant illustrates what is so remarkable about the visual system. Wow, thank God. It does not simply record the images passively like a normal camera. Along with simple vision, the visual system also has many other interesting functions, like it helps in maintenance of balance, coordination under the visual guidance, then pupillary light reflex, circadian resetting, alerting effects, etc. Now coming to components of visual system, it comprises of sensory organ, that is the eye, and parts of central nervous system, that is the retina, which comprises of photoreceptors, then the optic nerve, the optic tract, and the visual cortex. So today let's discuss about anatomy of eye. So the outer protective layer of eyeball is the sclera. We also called it white of the eye. And no light can pass through the sclera. Sclera is modified anteriorly to form transparent cornea, through which the light can pass. The cornea is moistened and kept clear by tears that course from the lacrimal gland, which is located in the upper portion of the lateral margin of each orbit across the surface of the eye. These tears, they empty via the lacrimal duct into the nose. Tears also contain lysozyme that kills bacteria. Then cornea, it is a contiguous structure with conjunctiva, which is ciliar mucous membrane that covers the sclera. Just inside the sclera is choroid. This is a vascular layer that provides oxygen and nutrients to the structures in the eye. Then lining the posterior two-thirds of the choroid is retina. This is the neural tissue containing photoreceptors. Then lens, it is a transparent structure held in place by suspensory ligament, also called as zonule. The zonule is attached to the ciliary body, which is a ring-shaped thickened tissue that divides posterior chamber from vitreous body. Ciliary body, it contains circular muscle fibers and longitudinal muscle fibers that attach near the corneoscleral junction. In front of the lens is the pigmented and opaque iris. This is the thin annular structure which controls diameter and size of the pupil. Iris contains circular muscle fibers that constrict and radial muscle fibers that dilate the pupil. Iris is the one which gives distinctive color to the eye. Different people have different colors of eye, like some people have brown, some people have umber, hazel, blue, green, grey, etc. Out of these, the most common are brown eyes and rarest are green eyes. Only 2% of global population has green eyes. There is a condition called Heterochromia Iridium, where the person has both eyes of different colors. The iris, ciliary body and choroid, they are collectively called as uvea. Then coming to aqueous humor, it is a clear protein-free liquid that nourishes the cornea and iris. It is produced in the ciliary body by diffusion and active transport from plasma. It flows through the pupil and fills the anterior chamber of the eye. It is normally reabsorbed through the network of trabeculae into the canal of Schlemm. This canal of Schlemm, it is a venous channel at the junction between the iris and the cornea. Obstruction of this outlet leads to increased intraocular pressure, a critical risk factor for glaucoma. Then the vitreous humor, it is a clear gelatinous material which fills the vitreous chamber. Then the eye has three chambers: anterior chamber, posterior chamber and vitreous chamber. Anterior chamber is the aqueous humor filled space between iris and cornea. Posterior chamber, it is a narrow aqueous humor containing space between the iris, zonule and the lens. Then last, the vitreous chamber, it is the space between the lens and the retina, which is primarily filled with vitreous humor. Then fundus oculi, it is also known as fundus. It is the posterior part of interior eyeball and has two important structures, that is optic disc and macula lutea. Optic disc is a pale disc situated at a point 3 mm medial to and slightly above the posterior pole of eyeball. This is the point where the optic nerve leaves the eye. It has no photoreceptors and therefore it does not respond to light, and hence it is also known as the physiological blind spot. Then near the posterior pole of eye, little lateral to optic disc, there is a yellow colored spot known as macula lutea. At the center of macula lutea, there is a minute depression which is called fovea centralis. This area is having highest concentration of cones and hence having greatest visual acuity. So that's all for today. Rest of the topics in visual system I will cover in my upcoming videos. So keep watching. Thank you. Have a nice day.